For 10 disciplined years, I postponed joy. I skipped vacations, ignored trends, and built a future brick by brick. That changed the instant I entered the 20-foot living room of my new house. Sunlight cascaded through the glass walls, and my reflection stared back as if congratulating me. Every polished tile felt like a receipt for sacrifices no one else saw. The island kitchen wasn't furniture, it was affirmation. Granite, symmetry, and silent luxury replaced every doubt I had ever swallowed. I didn't buy a property. I purchased proof that self-denial pays dividends. I believed I'd finally outrun stress, but as the door closed behind me, the air shifted. Peace didn't arrive. Something else did, something waiting for me to settle in. 2 days later, a polite knock interrupted my unpacking. A man I'd never met stood outside, greeting me by name as though we'd shared birthdays. He knew my job title, the exact purchase amount, and the date the keys changed hands. His conversation flowed like a prepared biography, not chance small talk. Before I could question him, he slipped a note into my palm. Homes like yours attract more than admiration. Be careful who you trust. He walked away without glancing back, leaving me rooted to the doorway with a sheet of paper heavier than any mortgage document. That moment shattered my belief that success ends struggles. It merely changes their shape. Someone had studied me, and I didn't know why. My family arrived expecting a tour but conducted an evaluation. Compliments were weapons wrapped in curiosity. My mother stroked the walls like she was searching for secrets. My brother wandered room to room, opening drawers without permission. My father asked financial questions only banks should care about. By dessert, the tone shifted. They weren't amazed, I was being cross-examined. Each remark implied unworthiness, as though my achievements required justification. They exchanged glances whenever I spoke, turning my milestone into evidence. I realized they weren't here to admire anything. They were calculating. Ownership didn't elevate me in their eyes. It unsettled them. Success isn't always celebrated at home. Sometimes, it exposes alliances you never noticed forming in silence. Across the street, a man spent more time watching my house than living in his own. He stood motionless behind wide-open curtains, gaze fixed on my windows like a sentry. One evening, he gestured for me to approach. Up close, his face looked worn, like someone who hadn't slept in years. "Nice house," he murmured, voice scraping the air. Then he leaned closer. "Admiration is the first phase. Intrusion is next." He pointed at the cameras surrounding his property, 8 in total, covering every angle. "You'll wish you installed them sooner." He didn't elaborate. He didn't smile. He returned indoors without shutting his curtains, leaving me with a warning disguised as neighborly advice. A thick envelope addressed to me arrived one morning, stamped urgent. Inside was a detailed invoice for renovations I never approved, $12, $870 owed immediately. My bank details were printed at the bottom, ready for withdrawal. Confused, I called the number listed. Before I spoke my name, the voice on the other end recited my address and asked if the payment was ready. My grip tightened. Someone wasn't targeting my house, they were targeting my identity. This wasn't a clerical error. It was a breach. I understood then that homeownership wasn't shelter. It was exposure. Every wall, every bill, every signature was now a point of vulnerability. I wasn't being welcomed into a neighborhood. I was being studied. At 2:17 a.m., the house plunged into darkness. My charged phone died instantly, screen fading like a candle blown out. The silence felt orchestrated, not accidental. My pulse raced as I grabbed a flashlight. Before I stepped forward, the smart home panel activated without touch. A sentence appeared, glowing against the black. This house wasn't meant for one person. I froze. The words pulsed once, then vanished as the power returned. Every appliance resumed its mechanical hum, pretending nothing happened. I stood alone, unsure if I'd imagined it. By day, the house offered luxury. By night, it revealed intentions. Comfort had conditions, and I was beginning to sense I wasn't the only resident. The following afternoon, a woman arrived dressed like someone who knew answers but never asked questions. She offered double my purchase price, cash, no inspection, immediate departure. Her tone betrayed urgency, not interest. When I hesitated, she didn't negotiate. She stared at the kitchen, tracing its edges with her eyes. "Homes like this are chosen, not owned," she whispered, voice trembling with something between fear and reverence. Before leaving, she placed a card in my hand. No name, no company, only coordinates. She walked away as though time was chasing her. I wasn't ready for whatever those numbers represented. Some opportunities aren't gifts, they're warnings with price tags. Curiosity dragged me into county archives. What I found wasn't history, it was a pattern. The house had exchanged owners 6 times in 8 years. 3 reported stalking incidents. 2 filed restraining orders. 1 vanished without forwarding information. Each record carried the same chilling phrase, "It watches." I returned home, stood in the center of my living room, and listened. The silence felt aware. My dream property wasn't vacant by chance. It was a vacancy waiting to be filled. Ownership didn't close a chapter. It opened one written long before I arrived. The question was no longer whether I belonged there. It was whether I would stay long enough to understand what else called it home.